The morning dew had not yet dried, and the sky was still dim. I quietly pushed open the creaking courtyard gate, and the cold air instantly enveloped my thin frame. Looking up, dawn was breaking on the horizon, and the distant sound of the morning drum signaled the beginning of this extraordinary day. My mother's parting words still echoed in my ears: "Schwer, hold your head high, and don't bring shame to your mother." I unconsciously touched the golden hairpin in my hair, its weight bringing me comfort. This hairpin was my mother's last dowry piece. She wouldn't even let me touch it normally, yet today it adorned my hair. Taihe Trading House was just ahead. Before I got close, I could hear the bustle of voices from within. Today was different from usual. It was the coming-of-age ceremony for Xin Yue, the merchant's daughter. They had even invited guests from Jiangnan, I heard. "Stop." A sharp voice startled me. Looking up, I saw a round-faced maid eyeing me with contempt. "The servants' entrance is that way." "I'm a guest," I said. "You?" The maid burst into laughter. "Guests enter through the main gate." "Are you lost?" I fought back my anger. "My mother is seamstress Liu." "Oh, the seamstress's daughter." The maid finally stepped aside, though her tone remained mocking. "Your mother is busy making new clothes for our young miss right now, too busy even to see her own daughter." TSK. I bit my lip in silence. Heaven knows how much I wanted to turn and leave, but thinking of how mother had stayed up several nights to make my new clothes, how could I disappoint her? Just as I was about to step forward, a clear voice rang out, "Miss, please wait." Looking toward the voice, I saw a young man in blue robes smiling at me. He appeared to be in his early 20s, with elegant features and an extraordinary bearing. Most striking were his eyes, so deep they seemed to see through one's heart. "My name is Jiang Zhang." He gave a slight bow. "I just heard that you are seamstress Liu's daughter." I nodded cautiously. "What a coincidence," he smiled. "I've long heard of your mother's renowned needlework. My mother specifically asked me to bring some Jiangnan silk for her to examine. However, being new here, I wasn't sure how to make the request." The maid immediately put on a smiling face. "Young Master Jiang, shall I go fetch seamstress Liu?" "No need," Jiang Zhang waved his hand. "Having met Miss Liu, we can discuss it another day." "Miss, please." He gestured for me to enter. The maid dared not stop me anymore, only watching coldly as I followed Jiang Zhang through the main gate. "Thank you, sir," I said softly. "It was nothing," he smiled, though his gaze lingered thoughtfully on the golden hairpin in my hair. Stepping into the hall, the noise immediately overwhelmed me. Figures moved about in the candlelight and incense smoke. I instinctively clutched my clothes, looking for an inconspicuous corner to hide in. "Schwer, you're here!" A familiar voice called out. It was Shen Yue. Today she wore bright red, adorned with pearls and jade, walking toward me with a smile. I remembered how when we were young, I often came to the shop with mother, and she always loved to play with me. But since her trip to Suzhou last year, she had become a different person, barely nodding when she saw me. Today's warmth felt strange. "Come sit here," she took my arm, whispering, "I have something to ask you." Before I could reply, a sharp cry rang out, "What is that?" Looking over, I saw Madame Zhao pointing at my hairpin, her face ashen. "How did my hairpin end up in your hair?" All eyes suddenly focused on me. I felt dizzy, as if I had been stripped bare before the crowd. Yue's grip on my hand tightened slightly. And Jiang Zhang, standing not far away, had a flash of something unreadable in his eyes. What secret did this hairpin hold? A deathly silence fell over the hall. "You thief! How dare you wear my stolen hairpin here?" Madame Zhao's shrill voice pierced the air. She rushed toward me, reaching for the hairpin in my hair. I instinctively stepped back. "This is my mother's dowry." Insolent! Madame Zhao's fury intensified. A mere seamstress with a golden hairpin as dowry? It must be stolen. Someone, take her to the magistrate's office. As several servants closed in, panic seized me. Mother was still in the back courtyard rushing to finish Yue's clothes. How worried would she be if I were dragged to the magistrate's office? Just then, Jiang Neng's voice cut through the tension. "Madam, please wait." He stepped forward with a graceful bow. "I heard you say this hairpin belongs to your household?" Might I ask what distinguishing features it has? Madame Zhao froze, then said, of course. The head of the hairpin is carved with A. She suddenly stopped, her eyes shifting. Jiang Zhang smiled. What pattern is carved on it? If Madame can describe it correctly, I would be happy to serve as witness. Madame Zhao's face flickered through various expressions before she finally gritted out, never mind. Today is Yue's coming-of-age ceremony. I won't waste time with her. She turned and left, leaving the crowd murmuring among themselves. Only then did Yue release my hand. I realized her palm was drenched in cold sweat. Schwer, come with me. She pulled me quickly toward the back courtyard. Only when we reached a quiet room did she finally exhale deeply. That was terrifying. Thank you for helping me, Mississippi. As I began to curtsy, she waved it off. Don't be so formal. Do you remember when we were young, we made a pact? Whoever came of age first would tell the other a secret? I was stunned. We had indeed made such a promise, but since her return from Suzhou last year, she had barely spoken to me. I have an enormous secret to tell you, she lowered her voice. My father. Miss. A maid's voice came from outside. Young Master Jiang requests an audience. Yue's expression changed. Quick, hide behind the screen. Don't make a sound. She hurried out, pulling the door closed behind her. From behind the screen, I heard footsteps approaching. Young Master Jiang. Yue's voice carried a hint of coyness. Mississippi. It was Jiang Zheng's voice. Your mother said you lost an embroidered pouch. Might it be here? No. Yue replied. I haven't been to this room today. Is that so? Jiang Zheng's voice suddenly turned cold. Then why is there fresh tea here? Silence. I could almost hear my own heartbeat. Young master. Yue's voice trembled. Who are you really? Another silence. Suddenly, I heard a soft click, like some mechanism being triggered. If you want to know the answer, miss, why don't you ask your father? Jiang Zheng's voice carried an inexplicable coldness. Ask him why he visits the abandoned granary by the river every 15th of the month. Footsteps faded away. I emerged from behind the screen to find Yue standing there, pale-faced. Schwer. She mumbled. I'm scared. I went to support her. What were you going to tell me earlier? She shook her head. Not now. Go check on your mother. I have a bad feeling about today. My heart skipped a beat. I hurriedly bid goodbye and rushed toward the embroidery room. Passing through a corridor, I saw Jiang Zhang standing there, hands behind his back, staring at something. Mississippi. Without turning around, he spoke. Do you know the origin of that hairpin? I stopped. It's my mother's dowry. Really? He turned to face me. Then do you know what pattern is carved on the hairpin's head? I was at a loss for words. Having only worn the hairpin for the first time today, I hadn't actually looked at it closely. Such a precious item, he gave me a meaningful look. Take good care of it. If it were lost, it might bring catastrophic consequences. My heart trembled. What did he mean? Before I could think further, a commotion erupted from the front courtyard. Someone was shouting, emergency. The embroidery room is on fire. My blood ran cold. Mother was still in there. Mother. Forgetting all propriety, I lifted my skirts and ran toward the embroidery room. Thick smoke was already seeping through the window cracks, making my eyes sting. Chaos reigned as servants rushed back and forth with water buckets, though none dared approach too close. Stand back. I rushed to the door, reaching for the handle. Don't touch it. A strong force pulled me away. It was Jiang Zhang. He wrapped his outer robe around his hand and kicked the door open with a bang. Smoke and sparks billowed out in a choking cloud. Seamstress Liu, she's not inside, a maid timidly spoke up. Madame Zhao sent someone to summon her to the back courtyard earlier. My heart clenched. The back courtyard? But I just came from there, and I didn't see my mother. Jiang Zhang's brows furrowed. Where did the fire start? It began at the embroidery frame, the maid answered. It just suddenly caught fire. I turned to rush to the back courtyard, but Jiang Zhang grabbed my arm. Wait. He strode to the embroidery frame and retrieved a piece of fabric from the wreckage. It was Yue's coming-of-age ceremony dress, now barely recognizable, but strange patterns were still visible in the charred remains. This is. I leaned closer and saw what appeared to be tiny numbers woven into the remaining fabric. Jiang Zhang's eyes flashed as he quickly tucked the fabric into his robes. The fire's under control. Let's find your mother first. But after searching the entire back courtyard, there was no sign of her. As dusk approached, I grew increasingly desperate. Then Yue came running up, Schwer. I found this in the corner. She held a handkerchief, my mother's personal handkerchief. One corner was embroidered with an orchid, a gift I had given her on my 10th birthday. Where did you find it? By the back wall, Yue lowered her voice. There's a secret door there. Jiang Nang's expression shifted. Show me. Yue led us to a secluded corner of the back courtyard. Weeds grew thick there, and vines covered the wall. Jiang Zhang carefully examined the wall surface until he found something, pushing gently. A section of the wall silently swung open, revealing a gap. Secret passage? I could hardly believe it. Miss, you knew about this? Jiang Zhang asked. Yue bit her lip. I discovered it by accident. Sometimes at night, I would hear people coming and going here, but I was too afraid to say anything. Schwer. Jiang Zhang suddenly turned serious. May I examine your hairpin? I hesitated before removing it. In the fading light, I finally saw the pattern carved on the hairpin's head, an incredibly subtle compass design. Jiang Zhang aligned the hairpin with the gap and turned it gently. With a click, the secret door opened completely. Cold air wafted from the dark passage. I'm coming with you, Yue grabbed my hand. No, Jiang Zhang said firmly. Go back and act as if you know nothing. If anyone asks, say we went to search the front courtyard. Yue started to protest, but footsteps approached from afar. She bit her lip. Hurry inside. Then turned and left. Jiang Zhang pulled me into the passage, quietly closing the door. Complete darkness enveloped us, I could only hear our breathing. Hold my hand, he whispered. Mind the steps. We felt our way forward. The passage was long, sometimes descending, sometimes turning. After what seemed like forever, we heard voices ahead. Where is it? It was Madame Zhao's voice. I've told you, I know nothing. That was Mother. My heart leaped, but Jiang Zhang's hand quickly covered my mouth. Don't play dumb. Madame Zhao snarled. Those patterns were your embroidery, you dare say you don't know what they mean? I only stitched what I was given. I don't know. Slap. A sharp sound rang out. I trembled, tears streaming down my face. Jiang Deng's arm tightened around me. I'll give you 1 incense stick's worth of time to think, Madame Zhao said coldly. Either tell me what those patterns mean, or don't blame us for being ruthless. The voices faded. I realized I was drenched in cold sweat. Stay calm, Jiang Zhang whispered in my ear. Your mother will be fine. They still need her. Who are they? And what are those patterns? I heard him take a deep breath in the darkness. Do you trust me? I paused. Who are you really? I'm. He suddenly stopped. Footsteps approached from afar, more than one person. Hide. He pulled me against the wall. The footsteps drew closer. We held our breath. Then, a familiar voice, Sir, about this shipment, where is it to be delivered? It was Master Shen's voice. You jest, sir. A deep male voice replied. Since these goods are for the Hu people, naturally they go west. Master Shen laughed nervously. But the origin of these goods? Origin? The man's cold laugh echoed. Taihe Trading House has been in this business for years, and now you ask about origins? I wouldn't dare, Master Shen's voice trembled. It's just that the seamstress. Don't worry about her. She won't be trouble much longer. The man paused. Though that daughter of yours, she's becoming too nosy. Master Shen's voice quavered. Please, sir, have mercy. My daughter is young and ignorant. I'll discipline her immediately. The footsteps gradually faded. My whole body felt cold. What were these goods they spoke of? Why were they dealing with the Hu people? And Yue. Stay quiet, Jiang Zhang whispered in my ear. Wait a bit longer. After what seemed like an eternity, certain no one was around, he led me forward. The passage grew deeper and colder. Those people. I couldn't help asking, are they going to harm Yue? You're worried about the wrong person, he said with slight exasperation. Your mother is in the most danger right now. My heart ached. Mother was still their prisoner. There's light ahead, Jiang Zhang suddenly stopped. In the dim light, I saw we had reached a spacious cellar. Wooden crates were stacked in the corners, and in the center stood a chair. Mother was tied to it. Mother. I started forward, but Jiang Zhang pulled me back. Wait. Before he finished speaking, footsteps approached. Madame Zhao entered with 2 servants. Time's up, she looked down at Mother. Have you decided? Mother raised her head. I gasped, an angry red handprint marked her face. I'm just a seamstress, Mother's voice was soft but firm. I stitch what I'm given. As for what those patterns mean, I truly don't know. You. Madame Zhao raised her hand to strike again. Suddenly, the cellar door burst open. Yue stumbled in, pushed by someone. Young miss. Madame Zhao startled. What are you doing here? Madam. Yue coughed twice. Father sent me to ask about those goods. This is none of your business. Madame Zhao cut her off sharply. Go back at once. But Yue stood her ground. I know everything. She stared at Madame Zhao. I know what you're doing. Those patterns are military supply configurations, aren't they? Dead silence fell. What do you know? Madame Zhao's voice shook. I know everything, Yue laughed coldly. Using the silk trade as a front, secretly supplying the Hu people with military goods. Those embroidery patterns actually show the quantities and types of military supplies. Am I right? Madame Zhao's face turned ashen. You think I insisted on going to Suzhou last year for no reason? Yue continued. I've been suspicious for a long time, so I investigated. Those so-called goods are actually... Silence. Madame Zhao shrieked. Someone. Take her. Bang. The cellar door flew open. A dozen Imperial guards rushed in. Audacious traitors, surrender now. Madame Zhao collapsed to the ground. You. Yue's face showed a flash of triumph. I sent someone to alert the authorities long ago. Just then, movement came from the corner crates. A dark figure sprang out, grabbed Yue, and pressed a blade to her throat. Don't move. The man shouted. Anyone moves, and I'll kill her. It was Master Shen. Father. Yue stared at him in disbelief. You really? Ungrateful wretch. Master Shen snarled through gritted teeth. I raised you all these years, and this is how you repay me? The guards exchanged glances, not daring to move. In this critical moment, I saw Jiang Zhang silently disappear into the shadows. Follow me. Master Shen backed away with Yue. Anyone who follows, I'll... His words were cut short as he felt a golden hairpin press against his neck. Let her go, Jiang Zhang's voice was ice cold. Or this won't just be a scratch. The cellar was silent except for the crackling of torches. A drop of blood trickled down Master Shen's neck along the golden hairpin. His hands trembled, but the knife remained pressed against Yue's throat. Lord Jiang. He forced a smile. This is our family's private matter, why should you? Private matter? Jiang Zhang's cold laugh echoed. Consorting with the Hu people, smuggling military supplies, you call this a private matter? Father. Yue suddenly spoke, her voice soft. Last year in Suzhou, I saw you trading with someone at the dock at midnight. I didn't want to believe those crates contained weapons. Master Shen's hands shook more violently. You don't understand. Who do you think I did this for? Wasn't it all so you could live a better life? A better life? Yue laughed through her tears. Betraying the Song dynasty, colluding with enemies, this is your idea of a better life? You. In that moment of distraction, Jiang Zhang's wrist turned sharply. The golden hairpin flashed, and Master Shen howled in pain, dropping his knife. Yue broke free and fell into my arms. The guards immediately moved forward to restrain Master Shen and Madame Zhao. My lord. Madame Zhao suddenly burst into tears. I'll tell everything. It was all Master Shen's doing. He was the one who contacted the Hu merchants, he. Silence. Master Shen roared. You witch. You've taken plenty of benefits all these years, and now you want to wash your hands of it? As they argued, their years of misdeeds spilled out. It turned out Taihe Trading House had been using their silk business as a front, secretly supplying military goods to the Hu people. Those embroidery patterns contained hidden messages about the quantities and configurations of military supplies. What about my mother? I interrupted their quarrel. What did you do to her? Master Shen gave a cold laugh. Your mother? She brought this on herself. A month ago, she accidentally discovered the secret of the patterns but didn't say anything. We thought we could buy her silence, but... What do you mean? I was stunned. Swear. Mother's voice came softly. It's time I told you the truth. I hadn't noticed that Jiang Zhang had already untied Mother's bonds. She stood up with difficulty, pale but relieved. I'm not really a seamstress, she took a deep breath. 20 years ago, I was the daughter of the transportation commissioner of Jiangnan. My world spun. Back then, my father discovered someone was colluding with the Hu people. Just as he was about to report to the court. Mother's voice trembled. In one night, our entire family was murdered. I barely escaped, but never dared reveal my true identity again. That golden hairpin. Jiang Zhang continued. Was the commissioner's token. The pinhead contains a mechanism hiding an important list of names. I waited for the right moment, Mother looked at me. Until a month ago, when I finally discovered clues at Taihe Trading House. Those patterns were identical to those from years ago. I threw myself into Mother's arms, tears flowing freely. All these years, she had carried this burden alone. You. Master Shen laughed maniacally. You think this is over? That shipment has already been intercepted, Jiang Zhang said calmly. At the abandoned granary by the river. All your accomplices have been arrested. Master Shen's face turned ashen as he collapsed to the ground. Take them away. At Jiang Nang's command, the guards led Master Shen and Madame Zhao away. The cellar finally fell silent. The torch flames cast shadows on everyone's somber faces. Yue. I turned to her. Are you all right? She shook her head, forcing a smile. I knew father was doing something wrong, but I never imagined it would be this serious. After a pause, she added, I'm sorry for being so distant lately. I was afraid of involving you. I hugged her tightly. My lord. Mother bowed respectfully. Thank you for your protection these past days. My lord? I looked at Jiang Zhang questioningly. He smiled. I am an Imperial investigator sent by the court. Your mother discovered the clues a month ago and secretly informed us. She has been helping us gather evidence all this time. Finally, I understood why he appeared at the coming-of-age ceremony, why he paid such attention to the hairpin. Let's go, he said gently. Dawn is breaking outside. We walked back through the secret passage. This time, there was no darkness. Jiang Zhang led the way with a torch, its light dispelling the shadows. Mother and Yue followed, speaking softly. I watched Jiang Zhang's back, feeling something indefinable stirring in my heart. Half a month later, spring was in full bloom. Pear blossoms filled the courtyard with their white splendor. Mother sat beneath the tree embroidering, no longer dressed in a seamstress's plain clothes, but in elegant cyan silk. Since her identity was restored, the court not only cleared her father's name but also granted us this residence. Mother, Yue is here. I emerged from the house carrying a tea tray. Though dressed simply, Yue looked much better than in previous days. Since she had exposed her father's crimes, the court, considering her sacrifice of family ties for justice, had not held her accountable. She visited us often these days, our friendship closer than ever before. Schwer, she accepted the tea tray, hesitating with something on her mind. What is it? I want to study at the Jiangnan Academy, she gathered her courage to say. I don't want to live that sheltered life anymore. I want to learn real skills. That's a wonderful idea, I said sincerely. The recent events had matured us both. Just then, footsteps approached from outside. Jiang Zheng entered and bowed to Mother. He had been visiting regularly these days, consulting her about details of the old cases. Madam, he placed a food box on the stone table. These are special glutinous rice balls from Suzhou. After a pause, he added, I have a request to make. Please speak freely. He took out the golden hairpin. Since the case was solved, he had kept it in his possession. The list hidden in this hairpin is crucial. The court has assigned me to continue investigating the old case in Jiangnan. He looked at Mother and me. I heard there's a professor at Jiangnan Academy who specializes in cryptography. I would like his help in decoding more clues. So. He paused. I humbly ask if your daughter might study at the academy? With her intelligence, she could be of great help. My heart skipped a beat. Jiangnan. That's an excellent idea, Mother pondered. Schwer indeed should learn some real skills. Wonderful. Yue happily grabbed my hand. We can go together. Jiang Zheng smiled softly. I know several teachers at the academy and can make introductions. The court will arrange for lodging and expenses. That's too kind, Mother demurred. It's necessary, Jiang Zheng said earnestly. This is for the investigation. Moreover. He glanced at me. Your daughter is exceptionally clever. These skills might allow her to serve the court in the future. I lowered my head, feeling my face warm. Though he spoke of official matters, I could feel the warmth in his glance. Then it's settled. Yue cheered. We'll leave at the start of next month. Schwer, what do you think? Mother asked. I looked up to find Jiang Zheng waiting for my answer. His gaze was focused yet gentle, just like when we first met. Yes, I nodded. I want to go. He smiled, genuine joy lighting his features. Pear blossoms drifted down like snow. I knew this wasn't an ending, but a new beginning. We would go to Jiangnan, seeking long-buried truths. We would study new knowledge and unravel new mysteries. As for other matters, they would unfold naturally in their own time. In the courtyard, Mother's embroidery frame lay quietly on the stone table. In the sunlight, a half-finished orchid seemed to tell a story of growth and anticipation. And our story was just beginning.